Hey, it's me, Weirdo, and today I'm going to be doing something new, and I am going to be trying out Artex acrylic markers for the first time ever. No, this is not sponsored. No, they did not send this to me, even though they are notorious for sending stuff to a bunch of different artists. I got this with my own money because I've seen it all over my feed and I just can't stop thinking about it. So I got the Artex Simp Tap markers, and based off my reaction, you can probably see that I am very excited about this. Oh my gosh. How do I open this? Now, I know Artex has a bunch of different types of packs and stuff, but this is the 36 marker pack SimTap. I think that's how you pronounce it. Markers. So instead of the normal Artex markers where it's just a white pen with a slim barrel and there's no prep work involved at all, you just open the top and you start going. The SimTap markers, there's a bit more work involved. On the back there's instructions and as well as all the colors assorted that they have in there, but the instructions basically are that you have to get the pen and shake it up nicely so that everything in the paint mixed together well, and then there's a pump mechanism at the top that flows the ink into the brush tip. So that's really what differentiates this type of Artex marker from anything else that they have. So these are all of the 36 markers that I got in the package, and as you can tell, they have the tops that kind of look like Posca markers, so that's what I immediately thought of. But you can see this barrel is nice and wide compared to the others, and I did get the brush tip end of it, so we can really get that variation and blendiness. And then at the bottom of the marker, that is the pump mechanism that I was talking about. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this square acrylic paper for my actual illustration for today. I'm going to be using my sketchbook for swatching, and then I'll also use this black mixed media paper for swatching as well. So now I'm going to start prepping some of these markers, and I definitely underestimated how much you need to shake the paint in these markers. I know in videos and stuff I see, they always cut it out, which I never knew why, but now I know because it takes a long time. And the pump thing at the bottom of the marker, I didn't know that there was a cap on it that would prevent it from pumping while it's in the packaging, which makes a lot more sense now, but I didn't know that. So I thought the the marker was just being stubborn. And then when I shook the marker really aggressively, the cap flew straight off, and I thought I had broken the marker. Oh! Where did it go? Oh my gosh. Crap. Okay. Finally, after fighting with the marker for several minutes with the cap on for the pump without even knowing, I finally realized and felt completely stupid. Oh! Oh! That's supposed to come off! Oh! Wait. Okay. As you can see, after I finally realized what I was supposed to do, thanks to the lovely instructions that were clearly on the box, the paint in the marker started flowing into the brush nib pretty quickly. So now I'm actually going to start swatching the markers to see what they look like on paper. Okay, so here all the swatches done. They seem pretty opaque, except for like this pink one, but I think that might have been my fault. I probably didn't shake it well enough. So, take everything I say with a grain of salt since I am very inexperienced with acrylic markers. But one thing I do have to say, at first it worried me when I put them on when they were wet paint because the caps didn't really line up with their colors essentially. But the more they dry, the closer they get to the cap color. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind whenever you use some of these Let me see if I can show you an example. Like J316 is like the most obvious. This is J316. It's a very, I think, a light, on camera it looks weird, it looks like a light blue, but in real life it's almost like a teal. It's light, but look how it looks on this piece of paper. Very big difference there, but it might be the type of paper that it's on, because this isn't really for acrylics, this is more just normal sketch paper. So I'm not going to do all the swatches again in this acrylic paper, but I'm just going to show you if the type of paper does really affect how the final product is going to look. So this is actual acrylic paper. Oh. Then again, I also might not have shaken it enough. So you do have to keep in mind my stupidity when it comes to things like this. See? Now it's wet, and we're gonna wait for it to dry a little bit, and then we'll see if it's anything close to the marker cap. Okay, so it's been a few minutes, and as you can tell, there's some spots that are still wet, like right here, but this spot right here is dry, and you can see on camera it doesn't look like that big of a difference, but in real life it's way more desaturated and not as teal as the cap advertises. So that's really the thing that stands out to me the most so far, but we will see how it works when I actually use them in a drawing. And I went ahead and swatched it all on black paper again. It's basically the same thing as I said. Some colors are really opaque, others are more patchy, but I'm pretty sure that's because I didn't shake them well enough and there wasn't enough paint on the actual brush tip. So make sure you shake them really well. Make sure you actually have the whole tip coated in paint if you really want to have that opaque look to it. So I already have this sketch already drawn out so that we can really focus on these markers themselves. So one thing I realized was, since it's a 36 marker pack, I'm not going to have every color in the world. And I knew that jumping in, but it really proved itself difficult when I actually had to put it in motion. I really wanted some warm tones for the skin tone, as you'll see later on, but a lot of the different browns and stuff, not that I'm complaining, but I wish some of the browns were a little warmer. They were really olive and didn't really fit the mood and shading that I wanted to give for this character. But I did make do anyway. I do wish though that I had more contrast in the skin, since a lot of the browns and stuff I wanted to use for shading required these really olive browns that would not fit well with the color scheme. So this drawing itself goes through many different phases. As you'll see, I was very confused a lot of the times. I didn't know what I was doing. Some of the markers weren't shaken up and prepped correctly, so the colors weren't exactly what they were supposed to be. I found out this the hard way. And it just goes through a lot of stages and a lot of mini heart attacks when I don't see the result that I really want. You'll see later on that the background completely changes. So by this point, I was getting so fed up of being scared of the colors that I wanted to put down, since they weren't behaving or looking like the way I wanted them to. This is nothing to art text or the product itself. I was just being an idiot and I didn't know what I was doing. So there was a point where I just started throwing on colors. I don't know why I felt so reckless, but I just started throwing on colors and it looked really ugly to me at some point. So that's when I decided to change the background color so I could have a whole new mood on this, since I thought that, I guess, teal color was way too desaturated for what I wanted. So for the illustration itself, I actually wanted it to be very bright, very summery, you know, since we're in that time, very hot girl summer-esque, look at my new body, all that type of stuff, all those vibes. But I couldn't feel those vibes because I was struggling so much. Again, it is not the product, it is me. I was struggling since, you know, these are acrylic markers and they are fast drying, but my impatience was faster, so it kept on blending and stuff when I wanted it to be one flat shape. And that's all my fault, okay? I was just being really idiot. And after a while, I do get the hang of these markers and I do like the final result that happens, but it was just a rough journey to get there. I honestly feel kind of stupid with how much I struggled with this because it's just a simple bust shot with one hand slightly touching the glasses, but you know, new product, never had this before, so it's fine. I'm not really that good with acrylic paint itself, so I can completely understand why I was having so much trouble. But after this, I did decide to draw with them again today, and it was way better. The process itself was way better than this, and you know, I think I'm really starting to love these markers now that I got the hang of it. When I was drawing with these, I actually did a little bit of a different style than how I usually paint traditionally. When I paint traditionally, I use a mix of cell shading and blending at the same time. But since I didn't know how to truly blend colors with these markers, I decided to do more of a cell shaded, almost pop art. I don't know if I should say pop art, but there was a lot of more saturated colors and shadows where I would choose way darker colors since, you know, those deep browns I wanted were very olive and I thought they wouldn't look as good. So, especially with the line art, I didn't use any sort of liner or anything. I just used I think I used dark red or some sort of dark green on areas it needed to. So, for example, the skin would be lined out with dark red, and then the hair and clothing and stuff would be, I think, a dark blue. That's what I used. And I really liked how that looked. So, I'm definitely going to experiment more with this type of coloring style. So this is the final product of what I drew with using the Artix Stim Tap acrylic markers for the very first time. I'm very pleasantly surprised with how it turned out, and I definitely see myself using these a lot more often and maybe even getting other packs or stuff. Artix, send them to me! Well, that is all for today. It was very fun testing out these Artix markers for the very first time. And thank you for making it this far, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!